Hey, Kian,
What's up, Daniel?
what kinds of films do you find yourself compelled to make?
I think I'm compelled to, more so than make a specific type of film, I think I'm interested in trying a variety of different styles and genres, but still trying to do that in my own distinct way.
Mm, distinct way. What do you think your distinct way is?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'm still trying to develop it. I think there's some common things that people would point to, like the cinematic style,
Yeah.
long takes, stuff like that. But I don't think I've fully figured it out yet.
How do you feel about Subtenant compared to your previous 48s?
Well, I think you can also comment on this since you worked on the last 48 that I directed as well. Um, I think Subtenant is definitely the best technical attempt I've made at making a short film. I think it probably has the best cinematography, courtesy of yourself, as well as
Let's go.
sound and editing.
Yep.
I actually wanted to ask you, how was your experience different on Cut the Virgin as opposed to Subtenant, since you were the DP for both of them?
I think I probably had a. I think Subtenant was a harder one to light, or to light to shoot to just kind of. I think the technicals of that one were honestly, even though we had like those one takes and Cut the Virgin, I feel like Subtenant had a very.
I was like, why is he not talking in here?
All right. Frick. Good.
Answer the question.
What was the question?
How did your experience DPing Cut the Virgin differ from Subtenant?
Right. I think Subtenant was a harder one to do because Cut the Virgin had this like it was a one take, like we had some like longer takes in it with like moving and this handheld sort of thing, but I think with handheld comes less precision inherently, and because there's less precision, you don't need to be as deliberate with a lot of your movements. It's different than setting a camera and having it live on a tripod for a lot of a film, because that's completely deliberate. And I think every time I put something onto a tripod, pointed at something, I'm paying attention to every element of the frame when I'm
Right.
when I'm working on it. And I feel like Subtenant, that was almost every shot, And the one handheld shot that we did have in it was still that.
Yeah, and then it just involved a lot of timing and stuff. That makes sense. We also just had a lot more setups on Subtenant.
We had so many more on Subtenant. We had so many more. One of the things that we did for that I think I'm going to absolutely carry forward into future projects was like my first time using the Sunseeker app on my phone to actually look at like where the sun was going to be the next day, like at certain points in the day. So we were always when I was like building out the shot order with Remick, we were looking specifically at like, okay, we need to do the hot tub stuff at 3 p.m. because at 3 p.m. the lighting in that section is going to look the best, because with a 48 you don't have we can't set up like a freaking massive HMI, we can't create our own sunlight, so we have to work with what we've got. And then we did have the 720. We had the 720, which Jesse was basically just running around with it all day. We just had that thing living on the tripod or on the C stand, and
Right.
it was just moving around. Did we have any other lights on that set other than the tungsten light at the very, very, very end? I think it was just the 720 for pretty much the whole shoot.
I think so.
We just had that thing. We just moved it around, or Jesse just moved it around.
Right, and then we just used a lot of windows and natural light. I did want to ask you on the topic of the look of Subtenant, what made you decide to shoot it at 10,000 ISO?
It was from a place of wanting to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. Cameras now, they all have such fantastic dynamic range. You know, they can do so many crazy things. One of the things that I love about my camera is its ISO like grain structure. It just played really well to my eye. When I was running some tests and testing it out, and I tested it at like 2,000. Like its bases are 640 and 4,000. I tested it at like 2,000. I tested it at 6,000. I tested it at 8,000, 10,000, 16, all the way up to 25,600, I think. And I think 10,000, it looked the best. And there was something about like a 48 in particular that it was nice to know that what I'm getting in camera is basically what I'm forced to have in the editing room. Like when we went into the editing room, when you're shooting at 10,000 ISO, like the grain looks great on it. The S1H looks fantastic, and I love that sensor. But when you're shooting at 10,000 ISO, you have no dynamic range. You have nothing. It's what you get in camera is what you get in the editing room.
Right.
And for a 48, that I think actually worked to our advantage. Because I'm not like, when we went into that and plugged in stuff and started working on the color grade, I didn't even freaking look at the exposure. I was like, yeah, I mean, if it's under, we're cooked. Like, it's
Right.
just, or if it's over, we're cooked. That's lost information. And so I felt that the 48 was a really good way to experiment with it, to see if it would work, because it's kind of, you know, comparatively lower stakes than more proper, quote unquote, proper production.
For sure, but I think I would definitely consider using it again in the future for a more proper, you know.
I mean, it looks great, you know?
Agreed. It gives a very unique dreamlike feel, which perfectly complemented the fact that dream horror was the genre that we drew. Yeah, personally, I loved it. Obviously, I kind of, we had talked about trying to get a very unique look. And I loved how it turned out.
You know, to me, I watched Subtenant, and it doesn't look like film emulation to me. There's zero film grain emulated in that film. Like it is completely and totally in camera. All of those like crazy darks that you get, all of those like wonderful little colors and stuff that appear in all of the white light in it. How it isn't quite like monochromatic. I don't know. It isn't film to me. Like I've done the film emulation thing. I've gone down that rabbit hole. That to me, when I watch Subtenant, it doesn't look like film, but it really barely looks like digital. It just looks like something completely different.
Right.
And I think it works for the film so well because it does look dreamlike. You know, it doesn't look like something that was shot in like the 70s or 80s with that film emulation kind of vibe. It doesn't look like something that was shot in the early 2000s with that little kind of VHS sort of aesthetic or anything like that. It completely stands on its own in the way that I see it. I was curious about Subtenant in particular. I think is a film that a lot of people find very complex in terms of what the content of it is, what it's about. But I think in a lot of ways, all of your films are pretty complex. Is that something that would you agree with that statement?
I understand the statement for sure, but I don't know that I would necessarily call them complex. I'm just not super interested in presenting something that's very like straightforward and digestible. I find myself attracted to films that keep you thinking and not just wanting to rewatch for entertainment, but actually because you get more from it. I think earlier when I was making films a couple years ago, I really did think it was just cool to have stuff that didn't make sense, you know? Being into like art films and stuff like that, that's kind of like a hole that people can fall into. But at the end of the day, I think I've come to the realization that it only really matters that it makes sense to me, you know what I mean? And people can find their own things within it. Subtenant definitely gets very abstracted, but it does start with a concrete idea that we thought out, you know, and emotionally it does mean something to me.
What kind of films do you take from with that sort of methodology?
I mean, I think it goes without saying, I love David Lynch. I think his whole philosophy about emotional truth being more important than some sort of literal or logical truth, I absolutely agree. You know, sometimes, you know, maybe frequently in his movies, things don't make sense in a actual realist way, but the way that they make you feel does make sense, and it does ring true. And I'm really attracted to that dream logic. You know, I could list inspirations forever, but those are definitely some of the biggest ones.
Emotional truth feels like a pretty accurate way to describe a lot of the stuff that I think you veer towards.
Thank you.
Like you just gotta let yourself feel the ride. I think, which something like that's a philosophy that carries into my stuff too. Like it's not necessarily about whether you get it; it's more about whether you feel it.
Totally. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think other than Subtenant, for me, the film that's leaned into that most heavily was Nacien, obviously, which we posted a couple weeks ago. And stylistically, I think both Nacien and your film, Home Roamer, I think we can track the development of those styles into Subtenant, but I wanted to see what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Home Roamer is similarly very static, and I think that there's definitely an elements of that in it. I think we work well together on stuff like this because I think we process storytelling in a similar fashion.
Right, I agree.
I feel like we're attracted to the same kinds of stories. I feel like there's a good alignment there. It comes down to that, you know, the that endless question, like, who do you make movies for?
Right.
Like, do you make them for an audience? Do you make them for like your friends? Do you make them for your family? Do you make them for you? You know?
Totally.
I think that informs a lot of that. It sounds to me like you make them for you, which, you know, honestly, same reason I do.
I think I only want to make stuff that I would be interested in watching myself, in terms of, you know, the experience that I'm trying to create, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily entertainment, but something that I would engage with and that I would appreciate. But I think making films, and I think also with a lot of other artistic, you know, forms of artistic media, like we're just trying to say something that can't really be said any other way.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, a lot of making films is trying to communicate something about myself that maybe I don't even understand, or maybe I can't dictate and communicate to people in words or in other ways that I communicate.
That's exactly why I do it as well. Is like I remember trying to express myself creatively. Like, well, what is it that I want to do? Do I want to draw? Try drawing. No good. Do I want to do music?
Same.
Yeah. I enjoy playing and composing music and doing stuff like that. Is it something I want to do as a career? No. It's like, do I want to do sculpting? No. Do I want to knit? No. Like what do I want to do? I want to do something that's unique to a particular medium, and I feel like the act of filmmaking is at its best when it's something that can only be done
In that medium.
in that medium.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can you flip the page, please? No, other freaking way.
We should probably
Yep.
just do like a couple more questions.
Yeah. Woo! Okay.
Just 12 hours.
All right. To go back to subtenant a bit, I'm curious because I was in that writer's room, though I was just kind of there to hang out. There were like, what, 5 people in there writing?
Right.
What's how do you like writing with a large group of people?
Yeah, another good question. Because initially we actually had maybe 6 or 7 people in that writer's room, dare I say, and we had to limit we had to break that up a little bit. We had to kick some people out. No, but in all seriousness, I do think that there are risks of having too many people in the writing room because it's so much harder to get to like shared ground. And I think it's just harder to get everybody on the same page of what you want to do and align with that many people creatively.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, it's great to have a lot of people looking over your writing and a lot of people to collaborate with because it's important to see how other people are, as much as we've talked about the importance of personal expression, it's also really important to see how other people interpret your work in order to really understand it yourself and understand what you're doing.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
There's so many people who are going to be working on your project, and I think every time I direct, I really want to be open to everybody's ideas, regardless of their role, because you never know. So there's definitely a big value in having multiple different people in your writer's room who have different tastes and a variety of perspectives. More than 3 or 4 people can get really, really hairy, though.
Yeah.
And it even for something when there's not like a time limit on it, it can be tough to be in a writer's room on one specific project with so many people. But when there's actually like time, it can get more stressful. Then again, just as I said, the more ideas you have when you're on that time limit, the better. So there were definitely pros and cons of having like 4 people writing, but in the end, it worked out.
It did. Well,
it was a bit rough though.
Well, there is the script, and then there is the movie.
Right. Not exactly the same thing.
No. What were some of the differences?
The movie's just more condensed. I think we had written like 2 or 3 more short scenes, which probably only would have been 4 or 5 more shots overall, but it definitely wouldn't have worked as a 48. It would be interesting if we actually had shot those to see what it would be like when making a director's cut.
Right.
But in the end, I do think, as much as I love to imagine what would have been, usually I lean towards more concise, the better, You don't have to worry about killing your darlings if they're never made in the first place.
True. Well said.
Right.
There is, I know like with the script and everything, well, the other concern that I had on the set was, we did not shoot any coverage,
Right.
It's a 7-minute cap, like a hard cap at 7 minutes for a 48-hour film project. So not shooting coverage is definitely risky, but we landed pretty much exactly at 7 minutes. Like, do you think we just got lucky? Do you think that it was like intuition? How did we do that?
Definitely luck is a factor. It always is. Even having it be like the third 48 that I am directing, it was still a little hard to get a sense of how long it would be when we were writing.
Yeah.
So I definitely think luck was a factor, but there's also just, you kind of have to make it work at the end of the day. You kind of have to adapt and figure out ways to string a story together if you're not able to get everything.
Yeah.
You know, if we had those couple other shots, would it be a little bit more clear what the story was? Maybe, but it also could have been less clear based on what we wanted to do.
It also might have gone over that 7 minutes.
And that's the most important part. It would have gone over.
Yeah.
Runtime. I do tend to find that my films end up being somewhat significantly longer than the scripts in terms of the page to a minute ratio that people usually think about in writing. And that's just because I definitely need to lock in on making shorter shorts than I typically do outside of the 48.
Screw him.
Yeah,
him.
Well, you know.
Short shorts, eat my nuts. All right? Don't freaking need it. Don't need it. Give me a long dang movie. I'm sick of the meta that's like, you gotta make it an 8-minute thing. If you want it to get to the festival, it's gotta be 6 to 8 minutes. I don't give a crap, bro.
I mean, it makes sense when you think about festival and programming, but I agree. I mean, I've made a 40-minute short. I've made a 35-minute short. Made a couple 20-minute shorts.
The day that I make a movie shorter for no reason and it is worse for it, actually freaking kill me.
Well, I like that. I like that perspective, and I will kill you if that happens. I think the style that I'm mostly into, I like to leave a lot of room for thought. I'm never really that concerned about a scene playing for too long or trying to cut out early. And when we were able to sit down and edit Subtenant a little bit, we did extend some shots.
We made it a little bit longer, yeah. But only a little bit. Like, we only extended shots and cleaned things up, and we really only... Like, we didn't add any shots, did we?
I don't think we added any shots. We just added some length onto the end of a couple. Probably no more than 10 seconds overall.
Frick.
All right, should we try to figure out a way to wrap it up?
Did I freaking... I'm like...
I feel like we're like, it's almost 2.
You guys still have another 11 hours.
Frick you.
11 hours? Oh my God, bro. We're going to have to talk about every HazeCrate film ever.
Every single HazeCrate film, your role, and 3-page essays each as to why they're important to you.
Short answer, long answer question.
No, we could wrap it up.
All right.
It's getting close.
Help!
Yeah, when are you HazeCrate guys going to let us out of here?
Please!
All right. You guys are free to go.
Oh my God, thank God. Can you untie us?
Get away from me!
You guys did good.
Yeah, frick you. Frick you. Oh.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I guess all you have to do to get us to talk about movies on camera is just kidnap us.
Ow.
Don't let the fans hear that, bro.